Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the Shankly Gates Podcast. It's not Sunday, or on Monday. It is Thursday night, although I have thought it's been Friday all day, I've got to admit, so I'm quite proud of myself for getting that right. It is, of course, a Carabao Cup Final Special. We're going to look ahead to Liverpool returning to Wembley for the first time for a Cup Final in 10 years. I think 2015 was the last time we played at Wembley in a Cup Final. Or a cup game. So we're going to obviously look ahead to that. We've got to talk about Leeds United on Wednesday night as well, especially after I wasn't here, but Kieran was me last week, if you like, and he got the score completely correct and put money on it, by the way. Gamble responsibly, of course. So we are going to Leeds and the Carabao Cup Final, but I'm David, joined by Taran and Dan. Taran, how are you, mate? How are you doing this evening?
Yeah, wonderful. Good, David. Glad I'm here.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you, mate. It's been a while. And Dan, yourself, it hasn't been that long since I've seen you, to be fair. But
no. Yeah, I'm all good, mate. Yeah, all good. Glad to be here. Yeah, about 24 hours ago I last seen you, mate. But
it's been too long, mate. It's been too long, far too long. Well, gentlemen, let's talk about the game that I completely forgot was happening. As Dan will know, we went to collect our ticket to the final on Sunday, and I parked up at Anfield, completely forgetting that it was residence permit, or not resident permit holders only in the car park right next to the ground. Fortunately, the fella let me in and I had to dash out. But let's talk about that game, Taran. I mean, both of you were here for Kieran's outrageous prediction that didn't turn out to be outrageous. I mean, we were joking about it last night, but Taran, did we ever actually expect it to be 6-0?
No, I was very close to saying the other night that if that prediction comes true, I won't enter onto this podcast ever again. So now I'm kind of glad I didn't say that, but I can't believe that that's happened.
I can't believe he's watching best moments of his life. Fair enough, mate.
Don't blame him. But yeah, me and Dan, as soon as he said that, both of us had the same reaction. So yeah, to come out, was 4-0 just before the 90th minute, and then 2 goals in stoppage time is just absolutely incredible. And to score 6 goals against Leeds and put the goal difference past beyond City as well, and then get 3 points behind them too, is just an unbelievable result in the end.
Yeah, it was, and part of me thinks Michael Oliver knew, because it was already like 92 plus when that corner was getting taken, and he allowed it to be taken anyway, and we got the 6-0. Dan, do you think the 6-0 scoreline was deserved?
Yeah, probably. So obviously, on balance of play, we certainly deserve to win comfortably. It arguably could have been a couple more. Obviously, you got the Salah one cleared off the line and a couple of sort of squandered chances as well to boot. So, yeah, I'd probably say, 6-0 was fair. But at the same time, part of me, and I don't know if I'm too nice, part of me thinks Leeds probably deserved a goal or two in the midst of that. I think certainly for the first 15, 20 minutes, they were decent. And they had a little spell in the second half as well. So I quite like Leeds, as we discovered last week on here. So I might be being a bit kind.
I mean, I to an extent do like Leeds. However, after the whole incident with Harvey Elliott, I was a bit like, oh, no, you just can go down. I don't care. But I do get what you mean in terms of playing style and things like that.
That's right.
He doesn't deviate from his style, and whether you think he's genius or he's mad, that's what he does. Mm-hmm. And I think he will stay in the league. I know they've got a tough run of games. They've got Tottenham on Saturday, I think, so tough one for them. But I think we did deserve a 6-0. It could have even been more, to be honest with you. It could have been more. And I wouldn't have been surprised that Leeds scored either, to be fair. But in terms of the sort of importance of the results, and I mean, there was a lot being said about it yesterday, how big of a game it was and being built up. And then obviously Liverpool go and win it emphatically and go within 3 points of Manchester City. How big of a game and result do you think that'll be in terms of the title race?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely huge. I think there's been quite a few occasions so far this season. I point towards the West Ham game and the Leicester game, and losing it felt like, at the end of the world, really. And quite a few times in the games that we've seen, a draw or anything like that has felt like that's our chance blown. So to get to this point now where, with this win, with 3 points behind Man City with a better goal difference, it's just inconceivable thinking that we missed Mane, Salah and Keita for a whole month in the AFCON as well. And to think, this squad didn't really have that much money spent on it in the summer either. So to be competing with this City side and now pretty much, I wouldn't say it's all in our hands, but to have the ability to go and win as many games as possible and sort of have a straight shootout almost with City now is incredible. I'm so glad that we've got to this point now.
Yeah, it's quite phenomenal when you think about where we were and what the title race looked like. It is pretty crazy. Dan, I mean, Taran's mentioned it there. He doesn't feel like it's in our hands. Some people feel like it is. Some people feel like it isn't. What side do you sit on? Do you think we're in control or not?
I'd probably go with not. Although I think last night was obviously vital because that game in hand was almost like a weight around our neck in many senses because, like everyone would allude to, it's only a game in hand when you win it. And obviously we went and did that. I know we're going to be one behind again after the weekend because they play Everton and so on and so on. But yeah, I still feel like Man City are in the driving seat. Points on the board. Going to the Etihad. If the game was at Anfield when we played them in a few weeks, you'd be tempted to sway slightly towards us again. But with us having to go there and having to win, that makes it slightly more complicated. So because of their home advantage, and it does come down pretty much to that, in my opinion, because of their home advantage, I'd probably still just favour them in terms of who holds the title lead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we are in a fantastic position. Like, let's not gloss over that. But I'm with you in the sense that going to the Etihad and trying to win is not in your hands. Like, that's a big ask. They are the best team in the league apart from us. They are constantly up there challenging for the title. They win the vast majority of their games at home. I mean, they've handed us some pastings over the years as well. Did they beat like 5-0 one year when Mane got sent off?
Yeah, Mane early, yeah. 5.
Yeah, and the year that, of course, was it a Firmino goal was ruled out for literally being a couple of millimeters, you know, and to be fair, I remember that game, and when they won that game, they celebrated like they'd won the league, and I think they were 6 points behind us at that stage.
Yeah.
So that just puts into perspective how big it is to be within 3 points of Manchester City at this time of the season. Taran, for you in the Leeds game, who do you feel were the best performers for Liverpool? Because I think there's quite a few, but anyone that you want to pick out?
It's a difficult one, but for me, I want to point out Joel Matip because I know that man doesn't get as much respect from rival fans, I'd say, and probably the general media. But that man, not just in the Leeds game, but also I think throughout this season, has been absolutely incredible. And every single time he picks up that ball and he wanders forward, and you just get this feeling of joy inside, and you hope that he's just going to run through and score a goal. And then yesterday, he actually goes and does it, and seeing how everyone celebrated with him was a wonderful sight. So I wouldn't say he was obviously like outstanding yesterday, but I'd also like to point out the fact that he has been outstanding this season, and knowing sort of the injury-prone nature of Joel Matip, to see him play so many games this season and play so well, I think that is something that needs to be lauded.
Absolutely. Do you know what I've been saying to my dad and my mates for ages? He's going to score soon. He's going to score soon because he keeps going on them marauding runs and he ends up in the middle of nowhere. And to see him actually do it last night was fantastic. And obviously, I think the Leeds fans are quite worried because he creates the first goal against Leeds in the last game. I think, Dan, you might have mentioned that on last week's podcast.
Yeah.
And it's the whole man-to-man system that Leeds have. It's very difficult for that one striker to cover a centre-half breaking forward effectively. So to see him do that has definitely been worked on in training, and maybe not him scoring, but in breaking forward has definitely been worked on. Dan, for you, anyone that you want to highlight?
Yeah, just to pick up on the Matip point, you see Pascal Struijk in the goal, almost look around just to say, why hasn't the striker come with him? And at that point, he's in the penalty area. You can't expect your striker to do all that. It's just the system works for them, but also that's probably its flaw. When your centre back bombs on, it's just not feasible. But yeah, for me, obviously, I mean, you point to your obvious ones, don't you? Salah gets 2 goals, Mane gets 2 goals, Van Dijk and Matip are both outstanding. I thought the midfield worked really well, actually, and I must admit, I was really impressed with Curtis Jones. I thought he had a shaky start, but I thought he grew into the game quite a lot, and I think the shaky start is probably down to the fact that he hasn't played for 3 weeks, and I mean, hasn't been in the squad for 3 weeks. So credit should go to him, because I thought he did okay when he got into matters. But I want to pinpoint my man, Luis Diaz. I'm getting lost for words now on him. He's dumbfounded me. Like, I have not known, and I've said this before on here, like a player turn up at Liverpool and just be like, okay, then. Like, I described him earlier on today as a plug and play Liverpool player. You know, when you buy something, you just plug it in and away it goes. That's what Luis Diaz has been for us. He is absolutely ridiculous. Like, how many signings have we seen in the Klopp era that come in and you see glimpses of and you think, oh yeah, they look decent, but you never really see them until they've been there 2 months. He's been here 2 weeks and he's starting regular games. And it's not like he's not starting like last year when we signed, Kabak and he had to start. That's not the case with Luis Diaz. He's starting because he suits us that well and he's that good. And I just thought last night, the party tricks were out, the no looks was out, the dribble, the pace. And he's also like, for a skinny lad, strong. And you need that in the Premier League. You need that. And it's obviously you see him chasing down the keeper that ends up setting up the 4th goal, I think. Just doesn't score, doesn't assist, but I thought it was an all-round performance. I thought he was outstanding.
He is absolutely electrifying, isn't he? Every time he's anywhere near the ball, he whether he's in possession or not, he is all over the opposition defence, which is what makes him a perfect Liverpool player. And then when he gets the ball, he's a serious threat, real threat. And I love that he still doesn't speak English. I don't know whether you noticed last night James Milner came on and was talking to him in Spanish.
Yeah,
I don't know whether anyone clocked that.
Yeah.
I was looking at Milner's lips and I was thinking, that ain't English. What's he saying?
Do you know that James Milner only speaks to his kids in Spanish?
I believe so, yeah. I believe
How
so.
How mad is that?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And his wife speaks to them in English.
Yeah, so they get both, which is really good.
It's brilliant, but my head would be battered. My head would be battered. I don't know whether I'd pick Spanish up like that, to be honest with you. No, I really don't. No. Well, fair play. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the fullbacks were excellent again for me. Trent was brilliant. Andy Robertson is just... He's had maybe not like a down patch, but by his standards, he's been a bit quiet for a few weeks. And obviously, the emergence of Kostas Tsimikas has made his... It's given competition, and I think it really is benefiting him because he's...
Oh, yeah.
Last night, he was excellent. He was everywhere. And
yeah.
Go on, Dan.
Sorry, are we seeing as well the early signs of the competition for Mane benefiting Mane as well?
Possibly.
Yeah. It's something we probably touched upon when Diaz signed. I think we all thought Mane had suffered a little bit. And I think we all probably thought, okay, Diaz, there's your competition. Go and be better. And he probably has.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it just shows, it's testament that, I think the next one will have to be Trent because Joe Gomez and James Milner are probably never going to push him out the squad, but he's doing all right. But you can't let people get comfortable. And Andy Robertson's never been a complacent player as such, but just fantastic. And do you know what? Thiago, again, just so classy, so brilliant in the midfield. Well, I think I tweeted this yesterday or the day before he started. He's made 50 appearances now for Liverpool when he played Leeds. And that feels slow. Sorry, yeah, it feels quick. It feels slow. Oh. It feels quick, but it is slow because he's been out for so long. I've completely butchered that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think in the same time, Salah's played 83 games.
So there you go. I mean, it's crazy how he's missed so much time. But when he first joined us in the first couple of weeks, and I know we were a bit iffy. That's the season he joined us. I just thought he was a bit of a luxury player, and he was good, but he wasn't. When you need people to fight, I just think, he is just out of this world. I think is it 18 out of 19 games we've won with him in the team. I mean, stats speak for themselves, don't they? It's phenomenal. And again, last night he's different class, absolutely different class. At the end of the game, there's something I want to bring up because it did make me laugh, but he kind of tried to calm it down after the match. Klopp gives us sort of what's becoming a bit of a ritual now at the end of a win of the 3 punches, but he doubled it. He done 6, and then he threw a 7th in for good luck. Taran, do you think he got a little bit carried away with the results, or was he right to do it? What do you reckon?
I don't know. I think it's one of those. It's Jürgen Klopp. He likes to celebrate a bit. I think he probably does one every single game, just for every single goal that we score. So if we scored 6 last night, it makes a bit of sense to me. But no, I think that seemed like a release of almost frustration, if anything, because if you think about how difficult we've had it, when you look at last year, having so many players out injured. And now it seems that we've had a lot of our players back. We seem to be playing much better, having a bit more sort of options in terms of who can play and when we can play, etc. And then to come through January as well as we have, and with the players that we had out missing as well, and get to this point now still in 4 competitions, that's outstanding, really. So for me, I looked at that and I thought that's a man that is happy with where he is. It seemed like he was just letting it all out. And we know sometimes he can get over the top and sort of he pulls it back a bit. But you know what? I think it was justified in the end, and I think it showed to Liverpool fans that we're not done yet. You know what I mean? And I think it was what Liverpool fans needed.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's wrapped up in the moment. You've just won 6-0. You've got 3 points behind City. You've got a cup final on Sunday. You've got 1 foot in the Champions League quarterfinals. You've got an FA Cup game coming next week that you should go out and win and go into the quarters in that as well, or the 6th round, did he call it? Dan, after the game, he tried to sort of play it off a little bit and calm things down. Do you think he regretted this little moment of letting that passion out?
Possibly, yeah, possibly. He probably did feel like he got slightly carried away. I mean, the 7 could signify the European Cup we're going to win at the end of the season, obviously. No, but I do think he got a little bit carried away. But as Taryn rightly said, I think given everything that's gone on, we'd been half written off a few weeks ago. Not in terms of the squad wouldn't write themselves off, and Jürgen Klopp definitely wouldn't write it off. But given where we were sort of Christmas time after that defeat to Leicester to where we are now, and everything's obviously pointing in the right direction right now as well. When you look at players are coming back from injury, you know, the squad's genuinely quite healthy. We obviously the signing of Luis Diaz, you know, Salah's on red top form, Mane. And obviously Tara mentions we've got 4 cup competitions or 4 trophies to go for rather. I think he's always been one for sort of involving the fans, hasn't he? We've seen that from that West Brom game all them years ago, you know what I mean? Which gets mocked, obviously, but more than them things. But that's always been his way, and it's always been a collective, and he wants to take the fans with this team on a journey. And I feel like last night was a little bit of that, because we're on sort of the cusp of something that could be very special here. And that last night was almost a message to say, we're all in this and let's go and do it together.
Yeah, it's he certainly did get taken away by it all, and the screaming of "come on" twice just got me as well. It was just it was like it wasn't him. It was like something else that took over him. He was just so in the moment. And Andy Robertson was loving it as well behind them as well. Andy Robertson was absolutely loving it. I'd like to think he'd do more than 7 if we win the European Cup, by the way. I'd like to think he'd just go mental for about half an hour and just keep punching until his arm fell off or something like that. But as that mentions, we are still, as both of you, we're still in 4 cup competitions, and one of which is this Sunday. So we will move on to the cup final now. It's been 10 years since we won the League Cup. Taran, is that too long for Liverpool Football Club, or are you just not that bothered about the League Cup? Let's be honest. I know we're in the final. When City won it 4 years on the run, we were just sort of like, who cares?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one again, because you want to win every trophy that's available to you. You know, that's always been sort of every Liverpool fan's dream. And I think when Klopp's come in, he has sort of neglected the competitions, I'd say. But I think that's partly down to the draws that we've had, you know, because obviously prioritising the league is obviously the main thing. But it seems like, you know, this season we've had a good run at it. And it was quite funny watching that Leicester game in particular. It seemed like a game that Klopp just, he didn't really want to win it. And then to go and come back like we did, he was like, if he could replace that for the game in the league the week after, I think he probably would have. But now we're here in the final against Chelsea as well, no Man City. And I think it'll be a really good game. And you've just got to hope now that we get there and finish it. We've come a long way. We've come back in games that we've needed to come back in. So you just got to hope that when you get to this position, I know we've been here before. I look back to that City game in the Cup a few years ago, and I think how close we were, you know, to winning trophies, and especially at the start of the Klopp era, how close we were to winning countless trophies, getting to the final and just not getting over the line. And now we've got the squad and the players, and it seems like, you know, he changed everyone from doubters to believers, and he's got everyone believing in him now. So you've got to hope that we can put it over the line on the weekend. Definitely.
Dan, for you, you know, as Tara mentions there, I don't know whether to say he sort of didn't care about the cup competitions, or he didn't really have a choice with team selections and things. He wanted to keep his players fresh. Now he's got the squad. Obviously, we've gone for it. How happy are you to see that we're going for domestic cups, and obviously that we've reached a final?
Yeah, I am happy, because I always felt like we were unfortunate, if I'm honest, in domestic cups previously. I do think Klopp's had his hands tied somewhat, because there's no doubt about it. You know, every big club will prioritise the Premier League and Champions League, and Man City included in that, because they just so happened to have had this ridiculous squad depth that meant their second team could beat Burton Albion every second week when they played them in the Cups. But on a more serious note, we were genuinely quite unlucky with cup draws, and I know rival fans will mock that, but I went to Wolves away in the FA Cup third round on a Friday night. That's not a kind cup draw, that, is it, in the third round? When you consider, with all due respect, like Kidderminster were in it and Bromley and so on and so forth, like Wolves away, a fellow Premier League team, isn't very nice. So, and I think we had Kijana Hoover start that game, 16 years old and stuff like that. So when you throw all that into the mix, we have been quite unfortunate, is the point, with cup games and the domestic cups. But I'm delighted to see where we've got to. And I think it is sort of a direct correlation as to the strength and depth we've got in the squad now, and also those slightly kind of draws. We did kind of come unstuck for a period in the Leicester game, whereby we named our cup side and they named their full-strength Premier League side for 45 minutes. And obviously that showed, didn't it, in the first half? But then we made just a couple of changes half-time, and the whole thing changed around on its head. So, yeah, listen, I'm made up. And I think, obviously, the League Cup, if you won it on its own, listen, it's not a bad thing. We, Liverpool, have an incredible record in this competition. We're the record holders. But if we only won that, it wouldn't be sufficient. But if you win that another, I think that is then a very good season. And at that point, it's nice to have the League Cup.
Yeah, I totally agree with you in the sense that you win the League Cup and nothing else. You can't look back at that as a success. However, you do not win a quadruple without winning the League Cup first. It's impossible. And we've been banging that drum since late November. The quadruple is on. So this is number one. Taran, we're obviously taking on Chelsea. There's a bit of, I don't know, they were really hyped up pre-season and they haven't really lived up to those expectations. What are you expecting from Chelsea on Sunday?
Yeah, definitely. I think I was one of the people that sort of lived in fear of Chelsea going into the start of this season. I think when we played them at the start of January, I was quite in awe of how they played and sort of the quality that they had in their team. And it seemed to make us look for, parts of that game like we just weren't able to match up to that level. And that was kind of worrying. But I think we've sort of come back to that and they've sort of dropped off quite a bit. But their squad depth as well is very good. And they've got quite a few youngsters that can come in and play. And I know they've got quite a few players coming back from injury as well now. So that helps them quite a bit. So they are going to be a good side. And they've got to this far as well, like we have. And they're going to want to put out a strong team as well. So at the end of the day, it's going to be a really good game. And Chelsea's always a tough game to play. But I think if we've got our full-strength team, which I believe we will, I think we can overpower them and obviously go and win the trophy in the end. Fingers
crossed. You'd like to think so. It's not going to be easy, but yeah, you'd like to think strongest team out. We should give them a chance. Dan, they've had a bit of an up and down sort of month. They've obviously travelled to Qatar or Dubai where they played the
Qatar, I think.
Yeah,
again,
I think. Yeah, well, it's far away.
Yeah.
They've hardly really been able to get a rhythm, if you like, in sort of playing football. They've got obviously the issues with Lukaku going on off the field and Thomas Tuchel's trying to get him out the headlines, but inadvertently keeping him in the headlines by talking about him. Do you sense that Chelsea are in a little bit of a disarray going into this game?
Yeah, I think they're in an awkward moment, I'd say. I think when we played them, obviously the 2-2 draw at Stamford Bridge, we were kind of going through that little moment. We had a few too many injuries and things weren't quite clicking. And on this occasion, it's the other way. And it probably should suit us because we're the ones flying and we're the ones where everything looks to be going in a positive direction. So, in terms of form and where the two sides are at, you certainly want to be in the Liverpool camp, wouldn't you? And yeah, they have got these off-the-field issues and they have had injuries recently. And I think, like you alluded to there, we were all expecting Chelsea to be sort of the third horse in this title race. And they could well still be. They're not completely out of it, but I think common sense will suggest that they are probably out of it. But it hasn't quite happened for them. And there might be an element of that within their own camp. You might be thinking, maybe we should be a bit closer to City and Liverpool, because obviously the good squad to begin with. They won the Champions League last year and they add £100 million football to that. You'd want a little bit more for that, wouldn't you? You know what I mean? So, yeah, they're not in great shape going into this, but as Taran suggested, they're still a side packed full of quality and they still have threats. But having said all that, luckily, I'm a Liverpool fan going into it.
Yeah, definitely. It's not like it's, I don't know, I think if the Carabao Cup Final's not going to be the start of the season, obviously, but if it was the start of the season, you'd sort of wonder about a bit more. You'd be a bit more worried. And I'm not saying it's going to be a walk in the park by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely, I'd put us down as favourites if I had to pick. Taran, we've obviously played Chelsea twice already this season and drew twice. Do you think we were unlucky to draw both games? Should we maybe have won both of them, or should Chelsea have won them?
I think it's, again, a difficult one. I think the one that we played in January, I think the first half, we blew them away almost, but defensively we just fell apart. And in big games like that, we've seen this season that if you aren't on your game, 100% of the time, you are going to be punished. And I think we were a bit unfortunate in the goals that, conceded. Kovacic won. How many times did he hit that and it goes miles wide, or it hits a crossbar or anything like that, and it just manages to go in? But I think that day we were quite poor in terms of couldn't keep the ball on the floor. It just seemed so disjointed. And obviously, you're relying on sort of the magic from the front three that they showed in that game. So I think we have lacked a bit of that in big games, especially against Chelsea this season. And I hope that on the weekend, we don't have that. I think that, like we said, the players are in good form. We've got everyone back and everyone seems to be clicking. And I think if we pick the right personnel, we should perform very well. And I think we should have enough to overcome Chelsea in the end then.
Yeah, I mean, we'll come to personnel in just a moment. We'll talk team selection ahead of that game. But Dan, first things first, we've mentioned Lukaku a little bit. Do you think he'll start on Sunday? And do you think or do you think he'll be on the bench? And do you think if he does start, will he be a big threat for us, or will he just be lacking in confidence? Should we have nothing to worry about? What do you think?
It's an interesting one. I don't think he will start. I think Chelsea were much better in midweek in the Champions League without him. They played against Lille and they were much more fluid. And obviously the whole 7-touch gate is kind of lingering over him like a dark cloud at the minute. So, yeah, they probably haven't quite learned how to use him yet. But having said all of that, from our perspective, anyone like that is always a threat because, let's be honest, he has world-class attributes. Like, people can criticise certain aspects of his game, in particular, his sort of workman-like mentality probably isn't there. But when you're as good as he is, often you don't need that. But yeah, he would be a threat if he was to play. But again, not many defenders in world football, certainly not many defensive units, have the capabilities to handle what he can offer in terms of his pace and his power. But we're lucky that we have. So Thomas Tuchel will probably be thinking outside the box in terms of there's not much point putting Lukaku up against Konate, Matip or Van Dijk because all three of them have got the pace and the power to deal with him. They might have to be a bit smarter in terms of it might be Kai Havertz and they look to use his movement and his guile instead. But yeah, listen, like I said earlier, they've got lots of quality, whether it be Lukaku or Havertz. I do think it will be Havertz. I think I'd rather it was Lukaku.
Yeah, I'm torn. I'm torn on whether I'd rather him play or not because it seems like the perfect opportunity for him to put everything behind him, score the winning goal and move forward. And that's not what we want. And when we played them in January, when it sort of came out while we were on the way down there that he wasn't going to play. And there was a part of me that was really happy that he wasn't playing. I know it didn't work out in the end and, we drew 2-2 in that, and we should have won, but I was really happy he wasn't playing. He is a threat. And I don't know. I think I'll be happy if he's sitting on the bench as long as he doesn't come on and score the winner. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Tuchel decides to do with him in what is a massive game now for both clubs. Darren, let's talk team selection. Darren, who's Darren?
The combination of the two.
Combination of both of you when you're on here, yeah. Dan has alluded to the centre half pair in there. Konate or Matip could be playing against Van Dijk, but on a wider scale, is there anywhere where you think it might be rotated maybe from Wednesday night?
See, now this is a dilemma when it comes to this point in the competition now, isn't it? Do you go with the people that have got you there or do you go full strength and go and win the trophy? And I think that is sort of a difficult balance. And seeing who played the other night, it was the personnel that I'd probably see being played on Sunday, ideally for me. So I can't really see much rotation. I don't really know where it would come from. I think the only place it obviously would be is in midfield, and you'd probably take Curtis Jones out and put Henderson in. I think that is what you need, because the big fear for me every time we play Chelsea is sort of the cover that we have at fullback, because Trent seems to struggle sometimes with like the likes of Pulisic or whoever's on the wing, and Robertson as well just sometimes needs a bit of support. So as long as that midfield has legs in it who can come over and cover, I think we should be all right. So I think that's the only place where we will see changes. However, I don't think Jota's going to be fully fit in terms of starting, but if he is, then I can see Klopp putting him in and maybe benching the likes of Luis Diaz. But other than that, I can see us going for the normal front three the front three that we saw the other night, the midfield that we like, and then at the back possibly seeing Konate come in instead of Matip. But other than that, it'd be a standard team in my eyes.
Dan, what about you?
Well, Kelleher is probably the sort of the big sort of talking point. Obviously, Klopp sort of reconfirmed that it will be him, which I've got no issue with. I think Kelleher's a really, top quality operator. My only sort of qualm with the decision is that I think Alisson's been at sort of the peak of his world-class best recently. I know he had that really dodgy moment against Leeds early on, but generally speaking, I think he's been sort of fine form recently, to be honest. And obviously, we don't see Kelleher week in, week out, so it's hard to gauge where his form's at. Like, obviously, in training, he's probably doing all the right things, which is why Klopp's got no issues with him starting. But from a fan perspective, we don't see him play 90 minutes a week, so it's difficult to know. But obviously, it's going to be Kelleher. And in terms of the midfield, I agree with Taryn. I think Curtis Jones is the only one to drop out, and I'd go with that sort of fabled midfield three, the most favourite one everyone's got. I think it offers the perfect balance. I think the midfield battle is going to be really important to win against Chelsea, because obviously we've got N'Golo Kante and Kovacic and probably Mason Mount. That's arguably the strongest area of their team as well, with their fullbacks being out. And yeah, that front three, I actually think the front three, I don't think Jota starts. I think he's certain to be on the bench. I think the front three we have gone with in terms of Mane, Diaz and Salah is arguably the best one for this game anyway, because that's probably the paciest front three that we possess. And if we are going to cause Chelsea problems, which we are, it probably is with pace, because as good as Thiago Silva and Azpilicueta and Marcos Alonso, less so him, as good as they are, pace is probably the one thing they really lack back there. Probably Rudiger's the only one with sort of anything close to Salah pace, and even that is nowhere near. So that would be the way I'd look to really hurt them. And the front three that we've just alluded to will definitely do that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big areas that Liverpool need to try and exploit, is getting that ball into areas where we can attack I wouldn't say slow, but, not fast Chelsea defenders, if you like. Yeah, because Thiago Silva, Azpilicueta, Marcos Alonso, you say, not the quickest. We certainly can get at them there. I think I'm in agreement with you that Curtis Jones comes out. Probably going to be Henderson. I wouldn't be too disappointed if it was Harvey Elliott, just to give you something a little bit different in midfield. I think Henderson's getting to that stage where he plays better in Fabinho's position, but he's never going to dislodge Fabinho, so I don't know about that. I think Klopp's got a tough decision to make at centre-half alongside Van Dijk. I think he'd like to play Konate if Lukaku was playing. I think he'd like to play Matip if he wasn't, but he's not going to know that until the two teams go in. So that's very, very difficult. He's got questions to answer that maybe, does he bring in Tsimikas? I mean, I know Robertson's been brilliant. Does he want to rest him? Does Tsimikas then play on Wednesday? I know he says he's not going to look ahead to any games, and he certainly wasn't for the cup final, but I think he might be for next week. And I quite like the way he's handled the Kelleher situation, because he sort of said, that's Kevin's competition, he's playing in it. And then he'd done it again this week in the press conference that he's playing in it. It's game over. The only issue I have with it is, if you remember the first leg against Arsenal, he played Alisson and said that Alisson didn't have any match sharpness. What about Kevin Kelleher? When was the last time he played? Was Arsenal away? He hasn't played since. So where's his match sharpness? Why doesn't he turn around and say, actually, Keve's not match sharp. We will play Alisson in the final. But that's his decision. And Kevin Kelleher's not a bad goalkeeper by any stretch of the imagination. So, I mean, fingers crossed it all goes well. We'll see. The only other thing I wanted to ask you both before we get to predictions, I know Kieran this week for the psychic, Derek Acora, like 6-0s, although I'd take another 6-0 against Chelsea. As we mentioned at the top, Talon, it's been a long time since Liverpool played at Wembley. I know some of them may have played against Tottenham a couple of years back, but it's not a cup final. It's not the same. It's going to be a new experience playing at Wembley for a lot of them. Chelsea have probably played there more often than Liverpool in recent years. Do you see that having any sort of psychological impact on the players when they walk out for a final at Wembley?
I think you can sort of be overwhelmed by the occasion, but I think at the same time, the personnel that we have in the squad have been to enough places and enough finals in the past few years to have gained that experience. And I think as long as we've got sort of the senior personnel in there, the likes of Henderson, obviously we'll have Mane and Salah and Virgin there, hopefully. That should be enough to calm the players and pretty much remind them they're here for one reason, that's to walk out with the trophy. So although Chelsea have been there quite a bit, obviously they were there last season, they haven't had the greatest of experiences there either. So it's one of those. They'll probably be more nervous in terms of their repertoire there that they've had in the past few seasons, obviously losing to Leicester. So it is difficult as well. But at the same time, I think that the personnel that we've got in the squad will calm everyone. And as Klopp, we know he pretty much tells the players every single game that, it's business as usual. Just go out there and play your game. And I think that is a main message that needs to be told to the players: is go out there, play the game, and everything else will come afterwards.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Dan, where do you stand on that with the whole idea of new experiences at Wembley?
Yeah, very much with Taron, to be fair. I think, this side's been to enough big occasions now. For that not to matter. Obviously, 2 back-to-back Champions League finals and the Club World Cup after that. All right, it's different sort of environments, but in terms of occasion, they're right up there, certainly the Champions League finals. So, yeah, I have no issues about that, really. And obviously, the players who haven't experienced these sort of Wembley days, you're looking at Luis Diaz, obviously not fazed by anything, it would seem, and Thiago, and obviously Canate maybe as well. But in terms of Thiago, we're looking at a serial winner there. Like, the man was man the match in the Champions League final for Bayern Munich. Like, you got no issues. If anything, he'll be telling Jordan Henderson to calm down. You know what I mean? And we're looking at Henderson, the captain, as in like some sort of oracle of experience, and James Milner, which is probably fair. But Thiago has definitely been there, done it, and got numerous T-shirts.
Yeah, 100%. He's a special human being, that man. He really is. Okay, then. This is the important question now, Taron. You get first dibs, mate. Give me a prediction.
Okay, I'm sort of thinking about it. I'm scared now after the predictions that we had last week, especially with Kieran's. I feel like what I've got to say has got to stick. So I think we'll win 2-1. I think that's what I'm going to go for. I'll go for a safe 2-1.
Are we going normal time?
Yeah.
Is there extra time, actually?
Yeah,
I don't know if there's no extra time. Straight to pens?
Yeah.
I don't know about the final. It has been straight to penalties previously, but I don't know if that changed in the final. I should know because I'm going to the match. So I really should know.
But what we'll do, Dan, right, is while you give me your prediction, if you want to make it slightly long-winded to an extent, I will Google and find out what the
Yeah, you do that, yeah, because I'm always up for just talking nonsense. But yeah, God, it's a really difficult one, isn't it? But in terms of how the game's sort of going to go, I can see us flying out the blocks and really giving Chelsea a scare early on. And usually in a final, it's sort of quite cautious for a while, apart from our Champions League win over Tottenham, whereby obviously we won that really early penalty. But yeah, I can see us giving Chelsea a hard time from the outset here because, like I alluded to earlier, we're the ones, riding on the crest of a wave. We're the ones flying. They're the ones struggling. So if we can hit them early, then we can get a grip of this game very quickly. So I actually think we'll win quite comfortably. 2-0. I don't think we'll run riot. This is Chelsea. They're better than that. But I think 2-0 is quite nice.
Okay. There is extra time, by the way.
Okay.
And there was extra time in the semi-finals, apparently. Which is a bit of a shame because extra time's usually a non-contest anyway. Be nice to go straight to penalties if we have to, but we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a tough one. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be very low scoring. I'll probably say 2-1 maybe. At a push to us, obviously. I know I've said worse in the past, but yeah, to us this time. It's going to be tight. It's going to be really tight. It's going to be quite tense because Chelsea know Liverpool play at their best when they hit you on the counter-attack. They'd be very wary of that. Liverpool tend to not create anything against bigger teams when they're in possession. They like a bit of chaos and they don't like everything being organised. As we've seen against Chelsea already this season, it was tough to break them down at Anfield. and I think the 2 goals we did score away were from like sort of a bit of disjointedness in the opposition. So I think hopefully we can pick at that a little bit, but it is going to be nervy. If we get an early goal, that opens Chelsea up. I think we'll run away with it. But yeah, I'm going to go with 2-1, and hopefully the quadruple is still in play by Monday morning. That would be lovely. I mean, I know we've spoke about this in the past, Dan, but surely now people are going to start talking quadruple and Liverpool win this trophy. Sure,
you'd think so, but they won't. Not yet.
With City, it's like November. People start. I mean, we mentioned this.
I know.
November, people start saying, yeah, quadruple. And
it's probably because in previous years, City obviously had a monopoly over the Carabao Cup. That was almost taken as a given. So like won the bag, and the FA Cup half similar. So it was almost like they were destined to win, if not reach the final of both of them. So with us, we've obviously sort of discarded them. So it's not in people's psyche that we could do something like that.
Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong. If we pocket this one and then beat Norwich, then all of a sudden and then maybe even get through the Inter Milan tie, which it looks like we will. That conversation has to change then. You know what I mean? And that'll probably be the point. People won't realise until we're in the draw for the next round of the Champions League that actually it's well on.
There'll be some fume. If that happens. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Gentlemen, pleasure as ever. Thank you for your time. Do appreciate it. Enjoy the final on Sunday and wherever you are watching it from. I hope you do too. We'll probably be back on Monday because we will not be in any fit state of frame of mind to be talking about the match on Sunday, whether it be joyous or devastation. Hopefully the former. So we'll be back on Monday with reaction to the final. Look ahead to probably Norwich, and who have we got the weekend after that? West Ham. We owe them one as well, by the way. Yeah. So we'll talk about that. And West Ham probably deserve a little sly medal for knocking City out of the Carabao Cup, by the way. Maybe, 4 years on the run, maybe they deserve a medal. But anyway, we'll see you on Monday. Thank you. Enjoy the match, and we'll see you soon.